Ladders and step ladders are not banned under health and safety law. The law calls for a sensible, proportionate approach to managing risk, and ladders can be a practical option for low-risk, short-duration tasks, but shouldn't always be first choice. There are simple, sensible precautions that you should take to stay safe when using leaning ladders and step ladders in the workplace. And you should make sure that you have the right type of ladder for the job and that you know how to use it safely. Ladders can be used for work at height when an assessment of the risk for carrying out a task has shown that using equipment which offers a higher level of fall protection is not justified. This is because of the low risk and short duration of use, or if there are existing workplace features which cannot be altered. Do remember that short duration is not the only deciding factor when using a ladder. You must first have considered risk. As a guide, if your task requires staying up a leaning ladder or step ladder for more than 30 minutes at a time, it's recommended to use alternative equipment. You should only use ladders in situations where they can be used safely, for example where the ladder will be level and stable and can be secured. To use a ladder you must be competent, or if you're being trained, you should be working under the supervision of a competent person. Competence can be demonstrated through a combination of training, practical and theoretical knowledge and experience. Training should be appropriate for the task, and this includes knowing how to assess risks, determining when it is right to use a ladder, and choosing which type of ladder is suitable to use. Before using a ladder, you should have access to user instructions from the manufacturer in case you need to refer to them. You should always carry out a pre-use check to spot any obvious visual defects to make sure the ladder is safe to use. A pre-use check should be carried out by the person using the ladder at the beginning of the working day, or after something has changed, for example if it's been moved from a dirty area to a clean area. Your check should also include the styles, making sure they are not bent or damaged. Check that the feet are not missing, worn or damaged. If they are, the ladder could slip, and also check if you're moving from soft or dirty ground to smooth or solid surfaces to make sure that the actual feet and not the dirt are making contact with the ground. You'll want to check the rungs if they are bent, worn, missing or loose. Check any locking mechanisms. Does it work properly? Are the components or fixings bent, worn or damaged? If so, the ladder could collapse. Also check out the stepladder platform. If it is split or buckled, the ladder could become unstable or collapse. And lastly, you'll want to check the steps or treads on any step ladders. If they are contaminated, they could be slippery, or if any of the fixings are loose on the steps, they could collapse. If you spot any of the above defects, do not use the ladder and tell the person in charge of the work. Once you've done your pre-use check, the following simple precautions can minimize the risk of a fall. When using a leaning ladder to carry out a task, only carry light materials and tools. Read the manufacturer's labels on the ladder and assess the risks. Don't overreach. Make sure your belt buckle or navel stays within the styles. Make sure the ladder is long enough or high enough for the task. Hey there, I'm really sorry to barge in on you during this video, but I have an important message. We realise that lots of the viewers on our YouTube channel get frustrated with the ads that are on our channel here, so we put together some simple solutions for you. If you're looking for the full quality ad-free version of this content, you can now stream, download or even take it as a course. Just check out the links in the description to see those options, and thanks for your support. Now let's get back to it. Don't overload the ladder. Consider your weight and the equipment or materials that you're carrying before working at height. To help make sure the ladder angle is at the safest position to work from, you should use the 1 in 4 rule. This is where the ladder should be 1 space or unit of measurement out for 4 spaces or units up. In other words, a 75-degree angle. As you can see, always grip the ladder and face the ladder rungs while climbing or descending, and don't slide down the stiles. Don't try to move or extend the ladder while standing on the rungs. Don't work off the top 3 rungs, and try to make sure that the ladder extends at least 1 meter or 3 rungs above where you're working. Don't stand ladders on movable objects such as pallets, bricks, lift trucks, scaffolds, excavator buckets, vans, or mobile elevated working platforms. Avoid holding items when climbing, and consider using a tool belt and/or tool tethers. Don't work within 6 meters horizontally of any overhead power line, unless it has been made safe or it is protected with insulation. Use a non-conductive ladder, for example fiberglass, for this type of work. Maintain 3 points of contact when climbing or wherever possible at the work position. Maintain 3 points of contact when climbing and wherever possible at the work position. Where you cannot maintain a handhold other than for a brief period, you will need to take other measures to reduce the chances of a fall. Secure the ladder, for example by tying the ladder to prevent it from slipping either outwards or sideways, and have a strong upper resting point. In other words, do not rest it against weak upper surfaces such as plastic gutters. Consider using an effective stability device at the bottom. This is a device that, if used correctly, prevents the ladder from slipping, and some types of ladders come with these. Telescopic ladders are a variation of leaning ladders, but remember that they don't all work in the same way. They should always be used, stored and transported with care and kept clean. In addition to following this guidance, it's important you read and follow the user instructions provided by the manufacturer. Before every use, in addition to the normal ladder checks, make sure the ladder is operating correctly and that the mechanisms which lock each section together are working properly. Always follow the user instructions regarding the opening and closing procedures, and be aware of the potential for trapping fingers between closing sections. Remember, some of the important parts are inside where they cannot be seen. If you're in any doubt, don't use them. When using a step ladder to carry out a task, follow these simple rules.